I think I'm learning that one of the hardest things to do when doing a video is starting the video. When you look at other vloggers, they've got numerous ways of starting a video and they all sound reasonably good. So I try to emulate them, I copy what they say, and I always end up sounding terrible. It comes across really condescending. So I've given up having a start to a video. This is the start to the video. My latest project, I have been, well, two. Firstly, I've made myself a natty little welding table on wheels. It's the perfect height for welding, but when I'm sat at it like this, it looks like it's my first day of primary school. All I need now is my Billy Blue Hat and Jennifer Yellow Hat books, and I'll be well away. But no, it's the perfect height for welding because it just puts everything right in front of you and you can weld away, which is great, and it tucks out of the way when you're not needing it. So that was my first project. My second has been this, which is too tall for the camera. This, which is the oil sump for the dry sump system. It's what I initially learned to TIG weld aluminium with, and I thought I would show you this at this stage and go through some of the problems I've had and the issues I've had with learning to weld aluminium. Now, initially it wasn't too bad. I thought, crack on, buy a machine, spend a couple of days learning, it'll be spot on. Takes a little longer than that. I think I'm at a stage where it's passable. It's not going to look brilliant, but I think it's structurally sound and strong. Doesn't leak air. So far so good, touch wood. So, what are the problems I've had? Well, I think this was my first weld on here, which didn't seem too bad. Then I welded the bottom. Again, not too bad, not brilliant. It's not going to win a beauty competition, but it's alright. Then obviously work my way around, and then the top. Well, I think I'll probably do these ones first actually, tell a lie. These might be my first welds, welding the old plates, welding the end plates on. It went okay, it's not too many problems, it doesn't look neat, but the actual physical process of welding it seemed to go okay. The bottom, again, not too neat, but the actual process of doing it didn't go too badly. I welded the sump plug on, there's a magnetic sump plug to go in there. That was a little bit more hard because it's welding quite thick aluminium to quite thin aluminium. Now this plate is only 2mm thick. I say only, it's 2mm thick, but this is obviously quite a bit thicker. It's harder. It was harder to get the puddle forming. It got real hot when doing it, but I think it's okay. It's a bit scrappy, but it'll do. Same problem for this. This will be the plug. This will be the outlet, I suppose. It'll go back to the engine. Again, not brilliant welding, but it doesn't leak and it's solid. The problems occurred when I got to the top. Now, top was a pain because, especially when I got to the dipstick. It's actually a Ford Mustang dipstick, but because of this little tube here, I lingered on this a bit longer than I should. I don't know whether you can see, but it's melted. Now I've done a little bit of a fix to fix it up, but this happened more than once. I think here it melted as well, around here somewhere. I've actually since repaired that, ground it down. It doesn't look half bad, so eventually I'll do the same on this side. Then I made the filler neck. This was my first weld, this was my second weld, this was my third weld on the neck, and this was my fourth weld. Now this was a pain in the neck. At one point I was on the verge of giving up and scrapping the whole thing. It's not very neat because these two tubes are slightly different outside diameters. One's about 3mm bigger, and welding that step just didn't seem to want to go right. Pain. It took me ages. I think it took me 2 days of grinding it back, welding it again, grinding it back to get that to actually a full weld all the way around. And the problem I had was getting this cap to fit. Now, I put the question on my Facebook page, how do I do it? And all I did was this copper, I think it's brass actually, ring has a step in it. So all I did was I welded a bead round the top of the filler neck with this in place. So when I screw it into the cap, it pulls on the bead, kind of like is it a collet? And it seems to have worked. So that's now solid in place. It's not actually glued on or welded on. It's just this copper ring, brass ring, being pulled against the bead by the cap. And that's full. The only two bits I've left to do that I'm not looking forward to is welding around the neck here. I know it's going to be a pain in the neck. Pain in the neck, no pun intended. And welding the dipstick pipe in. That's going to be a pain as well. Other than that, I'm quite pleased with the outcome. The next problem I came across was welding. I've got any. This. Now this was a 90-degree bend, and there's another one here. Likewise, was another 90-degree bend. Now these, you can see the hole was supposed to weld into there. Move it down a bit. So this is supposed to weld into there. Then there's a 90-degree bend that comes out that way. Then there's another 90-degree bend that makes it go down. So I need to weld this to here and two of these 90-degree bends together. Now, I don't know what it is, but this aluminium pipe has got like a shiny finish to it. It's mass-produced, cheap 90-degree L bends. Just will not weld. All that happens is you just get some black, horrible, it's almost like coal comes out of it. It's awful stuff. It just bubbles up out of it. I think I've thrown it in the bin. I'll see if I can find a bit to show you what happens to it. It's just impossible to weld. At my skill level, it's impossible to weld. I'm sure if you're a time-served aluminium welder, it'll be no problem for you. But for me, I just struggled. Sorry, just had to root around in my scrap bin. So these are what's left of the two bits, but whether you can see it, it just produces this really horrible porous cack that comes out of it. I mean, there's the other one. I took my aggression out on it and hit it with a hammer, and I tried to melt it as well, but it's just so hard to weld. I gave up in the end. I've had to order some this is 22mm, so I've had to order some proper weldels, some aluminium weldels. I've gone for 25mm, so I'll have to redo that hole, but at least it'll be decent aluminium, and I'll be able to weld it. But that was not fun. So there's my recommendation. If you're going to build one of these tanks, don't buy these pre-formed 90-degree bends, because they're horrible. Right, that's it for this little video. I hope you all have a good week, and I'll see you soon.